We're now in the second half of TVC Breakfast, this Thursday edition, and we have another discussion to address. Tuesday's Senate meeting took a different turn as the Chief Whip, Ali Ndume, stormed out of the chamber after he was ruled out of order by the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio. Senator Ndume had raised a point of order to draw attention of the Senate President to his handling of affairs in the chambers, which he said were against the Senate rules. But Senator Akpabio, the Senate President, had hardly allowed Mr. Ndume to end his speech when he ruled him out of order, which caused the latter to walk out, causing an uproar among the senators. And after a meeting with President Bola Tinubu on Wednesday, the Senate President emphasizes the unity and maturity of the Nigerian Senate, even amidst disagreement. He says, and I quote, "Even if some people disagree on some of the happenings in the Senate, still it's only the majority decision that's going to prevail, and the parliament is like that," end quote. So you're welcome. That's what we'll be discussing in the studio right now. We bring in a public affairs analyst, Daniel Akinlami. It's good to see you again, Mr. Akinlami, on the program.
Thank you for having me.
So, like you heard, the Senate President met with President Bola Tinubu on Wednesday and addressing State House correspondents who understandably asked him about the uproar between him and his colleague, Senator Ali Ndume. He said he waved it aside. Even Ali Ndume, too, also said he waved it aside. He also waved the exchange aside, saying he didn't walk out, but told his colleagues he was going to pray, because it had, it was time for him to go onto the mosque to pray. But what do you make of, this twist? Is this something you will also wave aside?
Well, I think the Senate President knows the right thing to do, to douse the tension and reckon with the senators that are having the running battle with him. And if we put the issue into context, Ali Ndume is not the only person that's been raising this point of order in the past 2-3 weeks. And this issue has been going on the ground for a while before it came to the drama on Tuesday. Also, last week, there was a similar incident. Last week, Thursday, Senator Ali Ndume raised a point of order similar to what he did 2 days ago. And last week, I think the core of the issue was that some senators felt the Senate President was not carrying them along in the passage of some bills. Like they are shut out from contribution. And in the same manner, another senator, a PDP senator from Nasarawa State, Senator, I think the Poshi also, a similar order. Yes, point of order. Similar to what Senator Ndume did on Tuesday, standing on Order 51 of the Senate standing rules, in order to call the attention of the Senate President to some procedural errors. And the key issue here is the fact that these senators are actually saying that the Senate leadership is not following some procedures. In the words of the PDP senator last week, he was actually even referring to some bills that are passed, like cooking and making those bills become law within 2 hours. So this is the fallout of that happened on Tuesday, when the Senate Chief Whip was referencing a motion moved by the NNPP senator from Kano. The motion was about the reopening of Nigeria-Niger border. And what happened was that the Senate President allow that motion to go to debate without first, officially making it to be announced for reading on the floor. And Ndume raised the point of order to call the attention of the Senate president. Obviously, you could see that the tension was already building before that day. And the Senate president has had enough. So that's why it looks like he shut him down that day. Because last week, he acknowledged the point of order. He even gave a verbal word of being noted to what the PDP senator raised. So, but I think the key issue to take out of the whole thing is the fact that there are some concerns in the business of legislation in the National Assembly right now. And we cannot rule out some of the things that Senator Ndume and his colleagues are talking about. They also have valid reasons to challenge the Senate president. There are standards and there are procedures for which business of the Senate are being done. So, but if they are being violated or the leadership is not following what the standard ought to be, I believe they have some reasons to challenge it. But at the end of everything, I believe the leadership of the Senate should do the needful. They should listen to them and also find a way to make an amicable solution.
But then, one of the questions begging for answer is the fact that Senator Ali Ndume was Akpabio's campaign manager during the race for the Senate presidency in June. So a layman question would be, what kind of trailer had gone in between them?
Well, there is nothing much to be surprised for. Senator Ali Ndume is a stakeholder in Nigerian Senate. He's a power broker. He has always been around now for almost 5.
Right.
Yes.
Yes, at least.
Yes.
The
5-time
senator.
Senate. So you cannot rule him out. He's very influential. He was the chairman of the Akpabio's campaign when he was elected as the Senate president. And also don't forget that this same Ndume had issue with some past Senate presidents, including Saraki. Even had issue with Ahmed Lawal. I remember that of Saraki during the 2017 budget debate. They had disagreement. So he's been there. And he's not somebody that you can push aside. He's highly influential. So that's why I believe that Akpabio has all within his own space and his own power to reach out to them and make sure that the right things are done within the Senate.
And if it is not managed, what do you foresee would happen? What ugly scenarios, or you could even extend the question to say, how will this impact on the business of the Senate, of this
Well, I think we should not be in a hurry to start going to that direction.
No, but it is true.
Yes.
It is true.
Yes.
I think the question is, is legitimate. As
yes.
It's normal for us to disagree.
Yes.
But, on the platform, a national platform as the Senate, one would expect that, healthy exchanges are also permitted. But if not well managed, especially in his position, Akpabio's position as the president of the Senate, what do you think? Why do you think they need to settle this?
I know that's quite the fear of many, that a senator of Ndume's status. So having an issue with the Senate president will give everybody concern. And also, prior to this incident, there have been speculations, unproven speculations, that some senators have grievances with the Senate president. First, some of the issues are fallout from the committee chairman appointments. Some were targeting some juicy committees and they didn't get them. And then there's also the fallout from the election of the Senate president.
Himself, right?
Yes. So I think the Senate president needs to tread with caution as well. So these rumors have been swirling around for a while, and they just look like speculation, but sometimes they build up and become an issue. So his position as Senate president may be threatened if these issues are not addressed as quick as possible. And also, you can look at it that if you have a team of people who back you up to put you in a position and you are beginning to lose them one by one, then you should be worried. And you know, the business of the National Assembly is not a business of maybe a Superman or Iron Man, one man having his way. A democracy on its own, and the business of legislation is give and take. You must have the majority on your side to achieve most of the things you need to achieve in the National Assembly. So it's important for him to listen to his colleagues. And I believe that what they are actually fighting for is valid. It's very, very valid. There are standards. There are rules that guide the business of legislation. You know, making legislation is not a joke. That you cook a bill, you know, roast it and pass it to law within 2 hours. Oh, no, no. So making legislation, you have to be meticulous. You have to be precise. You have to be intentional. And what they were saying is that they were not given the opportunity to contribute to these bills. The bills are being passed hastily. Like what the senator from Nasarawa State said. He said there's even a bill that has to do with monetary policy and was rushed at the floor. So these are things that affect the lives of Nigerians, perhaps affect the economy, affect the interests of the nation. So there are businesses that everybody that has interest should pull their voice.